from career-defining shots that nobody gave credit for, to major champions getting hated on for all the wrong reasons. These are the 10 players who got zero respect in golf. What do you call a guy who earned more money than most tour winners will see in their lifetime, yet couldn't buy a victory to save his life? You call him the most underrated player in golf. And until August 2025, you called him the most tortured soul on the PGA Tour. That man is Tommy Fleetwood. And I'd say that his story wasn't just about waiting for his first win, it was more like redefining what failure looks like. More top 5 finishes without a win than anyone in the last century. $33 million in earnings. The most ever for a winless player. He was ranked in the top 25 in the world while being the only player up there without a PGA Tour victory. And man, he was always agonizingly close. At the 2025 Travelers Championship, he led through 71 holes before 3-putting from the front of the green. Keegan Bradley buried a 6-footer to steal the win. At the FedEx Street Jude Championship, he held a 2-shot lead with 3 holes to play, then watched it evaporate. The media called it the folly of Fleetwood. And somehow he never broke, never complained, never made excuses. He'd finish second, walk to the interview tent, and talk about taking positives from another heartbreak. Then came the 2025 Tour Championship, his 164th try, the biggest stage possible. And finally, Tommy Fleetwood became a PGA Tour winner. The Tour Championship victor, FedEx Cup champion, $10 million payday. It really was worth the wait. Remember who was the star of America's 2023 Ryder Cup team? It wasn't Scotty Scheffler, it wasn't Xander Schauffele, or Patrick Cantlay either. Oh no. It actually was a guy who tweets jokes about his golf swing, co-hosts a podcast, and once lost his PGA Tour card twice. Max Homa went 3-1-1 in Rome, leading the US in points while everyone was talking about his Twitter game. Homa's got 6 PGA Tour wins under his belt, has been in the top 5 in the world, and always shows up when it matters most. But casual fans mostly know him for his social media, not his clutch putts. The guy can seriously play, but somehow that just gets lost in all the noise. By 34, Homa had multiple tour wins, a 3rd place at the 2024 Masters, and a perfect Ryder Cup debut making clutch putts under pressure. Yet without a major, he's still one of the underrated stars. Why? The narrative sticks. Late bloomer, social media personality, good player, not great. Meanwhile, he keeps delivering, like this clutch par save on 18 at the Ryder Cup to beat Matt Fitzpatrick. That's what separates elite players from the rest. Homa is a new generation of golfer, authentic, relatable, full of personality, but his golf speaks loudest. 6 tour wins, top 5 world ranking, Ryder Cup heroics. The tweets are fun, but the golf is elite. Perhaps it's time people noticed both. Now, here's a guy who did the impossible. He knocked Tiger Woods off the throne. At Tiger's peak, in 2004, when Tiger was supposedly untouchable. The question is, how do you do that and still remain understated? How does that even happen? Let's take a look at Singh's 2004 season, 9 wins, the PGA Championship, #1 in the world for 32 weeks. He literally overtook Tiger Woods on Labor Day weekend at the Deutsche Bank Championship, ending Tiger's streak of 264 consecutive weeks at the top. Let me clarify that last part. Over 5 years, Tiger didn't budge from #1 until Singh came along. Under his sleeve, he has 34 PGA Tour wins, the most by any international player ever. 3 majors. He won 22 times after turning 40, breaking Sam Snead's record. Yet Singh is not often celebrated. Maybe it's his personality, famously prickly, never played politics, didn't schmooze with the media. Or it is because he wasn't American and didn't have Tiger's charisma. But compare his resume to the beloved players of his era, and Singh destroys them. The man from Fiji proved you could outwork anyone, even Tiger Woods. He spent 500 weeks in the world's top 10, made $60 million, got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and still gets overlooked. The next name is one many of you know, and before you attack me for putting him on this list, let's be honest, he doesn't have the spot or recognition he truly deserves. Ernie Els spent 758 weeks in the world's top 10, yet somehow he never truly got his due. Want to know why? 2 words: Tiger Woods. The Big Easy was really good, like historically elite. 4 majors over 18 years, 19 PGA Tour wins, 28 European Tour victories. But those numbers only tell half the story. The other half? Pure heartbreak thanks to the most dominant golfer who ever lived. In the year 2000 alone, Els finished second to Tiger at the US Open and PGA Championship, lost a legendary duel at Kapalua where Woods hit that impossible chip-in on 18. That's 3 tournaments where Els played brilliantly, good enough to win almost any other year, and walked away empty-handed. Then, Els won the 2002 Open Championship at Muirfield in a 4-way playoff. It should have been legendary. Instead, barely remembered, because Tiger was dominating everything at the time. Without Woods, Els probably wins 8 to 10 majors, maybe more. But that didn't happen, and now he's remembered as a really good player who couldn't quite reach the top. What does it take to join golf's most exclusive club? How about 51 PGA Tour wins? Only 6 players in history have done more. So, why doesn't anyone remember Billy Casper? Simple. He had the misfortune of being great during the wrong decade. While Casper was quietly dominating golf courses across America, 3 other guys were stealing all the headlines. Arnold Palmer with his swashbuckling style, Jack Nicklaus with his methodical brilliance, Gary Player with his international flair. Together they became the Big Three, and Billy Casper became the forgotten fourth. Most people don't even know who I'm talking about, but this guy was incredible. He won 3 majors, including back-to-back US Opens, took home 5 Vardon trophies for lowest scoring average, won at least 1 tournament for 16 straight seasons, a streak only Nicklaus and Palmer matched. He finished his career with a 9.2% winning percentage, a mark only Tiger and Nicklaus have surpassed among players who started after 1950. The 1966 US Open at Olympic says it all. 7 shots behind Palmer with 9 holes to play, he stayed calm and methodical, chipping away until he forced a playoff, and then crushed Arnie by 4 the next day. Classic Casper. No flash, just results. 7th all-time in tour wins, and yet almost nobody remembers him. He passed in 2015, but the unfairly underrated legacy of Billy Casper lives on. What if I told you there's a golfer who made 17 holes in one, who shot 59 3 different times, who could place a golf ball exactly where he wanted it, every single time, and whose swing was so mechanically perfect that Tiger Woods said only 2 people in history have truly owned their swings? Ben Hogan and this guy? You'd probably ask why you've never heard of him. Meet Mo Norman, golf's most brilliant outcast. His single-plane swing looked bizarre. Arms extended far from his body, extremely wide stance, rigid posture that would make any teaching pro cringe. The golf establishment dismissed him as a curiosity, a sideshow. But here's what they missed. The man was a machine. Sam Snead called him the greatest striker of the ball. Vijay Singh went further, God's gift to golf. Lee Trevino said he'd never seen anyone who could strike a ball like Norman. When the greatest players in history are singing your praises, maybe you should pay attention. So, what was the problem? Well, he struggled socially and was likely autistic in an era that didn't understand such things. After one miserable season on the PGA Tour, he retreated to Canada, where he won 54 times and set 33 course records. But playing in relative obscurity meant the golf world forgot about him. That's what they did. He spent years in a $400 a month motel, keeping his clothes in his car. It wasn't until late in life that Titleist gave him a lifetime contract for his impact on golf. Then, 2004 came and Norman died, mostly unknown to casual fans. But his influence is everywhere. You can see his single-plane swing in guys like Bryson DeChambeau. The thing is, sometimes genius just comes at the wrong time. Our next underrated player is this golfer who dominated the biggest stage in golf for 13 months straight. 3 majors, back-to-back Open championships, first European to win consecutive majors in over a century. Yet somehow, people still call him a journeyman. What the heck? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Padraig Harrington, golf's most criminally underrated superstar. Just take a look at his numbers. 16 top 10 finishes in majors, 41 wins worldwide, World Golf Hall of Fame inductee. His timing was absolutely perfect, and people still don't give him enough credit. Let's travel back to the summer of 2008. Tiger Woods is out with knee surgery. The golf world is wide open. While everyone else is stumbling around trying to fill the void, Harrington steps up and absolutely dominates. He wins the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale in July, defending his 2007 title. Then, just 3 weeks later, he captures the PGA Championship at Oakland Hills. That's 3 majors in 13 months. He became the first European to win the Open and the PGA Championship in the same year. The first European to claim back-to-back majors since James Braid in 1906. You can't call this luck. This was a masterclass in seizing the moment. But because Tiger wasn't there to challenge him, people diminish it. They call him opportunistic, a beneficiary of circumstance. That's ridiculous. Harrington earned his spot at the top, then delivered when it mattered most. 28 years. That's how long this next golfer dominated the course. From a first PGA Tour win in 1963 to a final victory in 1992. The longest gap between first and last wins in tour history. Most players don't even have careers that long, let alone remain competitive for 3 decades. Yet this golfer remains golf's most overlooked legend. Why? Because he had the misfortune of playing during the greatest era in golf history. His name? Raymond Floyd. While Floyd was quietly dominating, the spotlight belonged to Palmer, Nicklaus, and Trevino. These were the larger-than-life personalities that captivated fans. Floyd? He was Tempo Raimundo, the guy with the perfect swing who just ground out victories without much fanfare. No charisma, no nickname that stuck. He was just there to play golf. And play golf he did. 4 majors over 3 decades, 22 PGA Tour wins, and 65 top 25 finishes in majors, a level of consistency few can touch. He played in 8 Ryder Cups, captained in '89, then returned as a player in '93 at 51. Throughout his entire playing career, he reinvented himself countless times. Early career party animal, mid-career grinder, late career master craftsman. In 1992, he won on both the PGA Tour and Champions Tour in the same year. Something no one had done before. A Vietnam War veteran walks into a golf pro shop at age 21. Never touched a club before. Never played the game. But somehow, 17 years later, he's standing over Tom Watson at one of golf's toughest courses, holding a record that still hasn't been broken. This is Larry Nelson's story, and it's absolutely insane. He didn't pick up a golf club until he was 21 years old after returning from infantry service in Vietnam. His army buddy Ken Hummel mentioned you could make a living playing golf. Nelson figured why not? When he got home in 1969, his wife bought him a set of clubs for Christmas. And to this day, what happened next is still incredible. He broke 100 the first time he played 18 holes. Within 9 months, he broke 70. How? He taught himself entirely from Ben Hogan's book, The 5 Fundamentals of Golf. No coach, no lessons, just a book and raw talent, I guess. By 1983, he's at Oakmont Country Club, 7 shots behind Tom Watson at the halfway point of the US Open, and he goes absolutely insane. He fired 65 to 67 over the final 2 rounds, a US Open record that broke Gene Sarazen's 51-year-old mark. His 132 for the final 2 rounds has never been equaled. But what makes him truly underrated? Well, the fact that he won 3 major championships total, yet most golf fans couldn't pick him out of a lineup. Golf Digest once called him the greatest golfer no one knows. I'd almost bet the next name is one you've hardly ever heard in your life as a golf fan, and I don't blame you. This player didn't pick up a golf club until his 20s. He then had the courage to turn pro at 29 and, with all the audacity in the world, went on to make history at 48. That man's name was Julius Moose Boros, and somehow nobody talks about him. Here's your late bloomer in professional golf. Born to Hungarian immigrants in Connecticut, Boros worked as an accountant while playing amateur golf on weekends. When he finally turned professional in 1949, most careers were already winding down at that age. Boros was just getting started. 3 years later, he wins the US Open. Just like that. His first professional victory was one of golf's biggest stages, beating Ben Hogan at Northwood Club in Dallas. The accountant had become a champion. But the magic was just beginning. In 1963, at age 43, he won his second US Open, defeating Arnold Palmer and Jackie Cupid in an 18-hole playoff. Then came 1968, Pecan Valley Golf Club in San Antonio. Triple-digit temperatures. Arnold Palmer desperately chasing the one major that always escaped him. Boros fired a final round 69 to win the PGA Championship by 1 shot. He was 48 years, 4 months, 18 days old. For more than 50 years, that record stood untouchable. Phil Mickelson finally broke it in 2021. He earned 18 PGA Tour wins, 3 majors, and played in 4 Ryder Cups. And now you know his name. All right, on to the next. This is a man you might know. He was the best golfer in the world, #1 in the rankings, 13 wins in 5 years, a round of 59 to win a tournament. But then, he disappeared from golf's biggest stages almost overnight, becoming a footnote in the Tiger Woods era. It's one of the worst things that could have happened to David Duval. From 1997 to 2001, Duval was untouchable. This quiet kid from Jacksonville, Florida, with the dark sunglasses and mechanical swing, was winning everything. He shot 59 in the final round of the Bob Hope Classic with an eagle on the last hole to win by 1. First player ever to do that. He won the Players' Championship on the same day his father won on the Champions Tour. He twice took the world #1 ranking away from Tiger Woods. He had nothing to be envious of. He delivered in the biggest moments. For example, the 2001 Open Championship at Royal Lytham, 7 shots back at the halfway point. He fired a third-round 65 that was pure artistry. 6 birdies in the first 13 holes. Suddenly, he was tied for the lead with legends like Ian Woosnam and Bernhard Langer. Final round, closing 67. 3-shot victory, his only major championship. It felt like the beginning of something bigger, but instead, it was the end. Back injuries, vertigo, personal struggles. The man who had been Tiger's greatest rival simply vanished. He never won another PGA Tour event, ever. Who was the most beloved figure in golf during the 1940s and 50s? Hint, it wasn't Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, or Sam Snead. It was a happy-go-lucky Texan who showed up to tournaments in canary yellow outfits, sang in nightclubs between rounds, and happened to be the first player to win 3 Masters titles. Jimmy Demarais was golf's original entertainer, and he was absolutely unstoppable. This was a guy who dropped out of school before junior high to help support his family of 9 kids. Started working as an assistant pro at 16. Learned golf on the windswept municipal course in Galveston, where Mother Nature taught him to hit low, penetrating shots that could cut through any breeze. By the time he made it to the professional circuit, he was a machine. He has 31 PGA Tour wins between 1935 and 1957, 3 Masters victories, 1940, 1947, and 1950. He was the first player to achieve that feat. In 1940, he won 6 out of 9 tournaments he entered, including that first Masters where he shot a record-setting 67 in the opening round and blazed through the back 9 in 30 strokes. So why is he buried among the most underrated players? We don't really know. Maybe he was too colorful for golf's conservative culture. But if there's one thing that will always bear his name, it's the way golfers played in the wind. Even Ben Hogan, the greatest ball striker in history, mimicked Demarais' signature shot. He's a legend who deserves more recognition than he's gotten. Among all those who deserve more celebration, there's another name who, although better known, hasn't quite earned the recognition he deserves. With 3 US Opens and 45 Champions Tour victories, a record that stood for decades until Bernhard Langer finally broke it, Hale Irwin still feels like golf's forgotten champion. Maybe it's because people forgot just how ridiculously good this guy was when the pressure was at its peak. Irwin's specialty was winning golf's toughest test. The US Open demands everything: precision, patience, mental fortitude. His first victory came at Winged Foot in 1974, a course so brutal they called it the Massacre at Winged Foot. Irwin won at 7 over par, the second highest winning score relative to par in US Open history. While everyone else was bleeding strokes, he was staying steady. 5 years later, he did it again. Then, in 1990, at 45, he pulled off the most dramatic finish in US Open history, standing over a 45-foot putt at Medina Country Club, needing birdie just to force a playoff. Irwin drained it. The celebration that followed, that iconic fist pump and lap around the green, became one of golf's most memorable moments. He won the playoff the next day, becoming the oldest US Open champion ever. Even after that, he wasn't done. On the senior tour, Irwin racked up 45 wins, 7 senior majors, and dominated his peers. Over 1,000 pro events, 86 consecutive cuts, yet his name rarely tops discussions of 70s and 80s greats. After 2 legendary careers, Hale Irwin deserves his due. This next name you probably haven't heard in years, but in 2008, he was supposed to be the next big thing. Swagger? Check. Game? Check. Hype? Off the charts. He was winning faster than almost anyone not named Tiger Woods. And then, he vanished. What happened to Anthony Kim is one of golf's greatest mysteries, and why some now consider him one of the sport's biggest disappointments. In 2008, he was on fire. Kim became the first American under 25, to win twice in one PGA Tour season since Tiger Woods in 2000. And then came the Ryder Cup. At Valhalla, Kim embarrassed Ryder Cup legend Sergio Garcia 5-4 in the opening Sunday match, helping Team USA win their first Ryder Cup since 1999. Ranked 6th in the world at just 23, Kim wasn't just another young talent. He was supposed to be America's answer to golf's boring image. And then he vanished. In 2012, he tore his Achilles and had surgery. The timeline said 9 to 12 months. But he never came back. Not once. Why? Well, that's the sketchy part. Rumors say he had a $10 to $20 million insurance policy that would only pay out if his injury was career-ending. And if he ever swung a club in a tour event again, the policy would be void. So Anthony Kim, who could have been a legend, basically got paid millions to disappear.